Hello, Professor Burke. This is my final presentation for my character profile. I'm sorry for all the confusion. Um, I sent you screenshots earlier of the video that I recorded. I was finally able to get a computer that was working for me. One of my friends was kind enough to let me borrow it. Um, I will show you right here for proof that I have the 10-minute video. This is what I originally was planning on sending in, but there wasn't enough space on my computer or on my phone through my Google, which is what I use to host it. So I have right here the script that I used, and I'm going to go right into it. So I went with Dante Smith. He is a 17-year-old senior in high school from Compton, California. I decided to base him in Compton, California because when I was thinking of somewhere that would be high crime and potentially set someone up for a criminal career, this was the first place that came to mind was Compton. So I decided to go with that. Kind of ran with it. Um, Dante originally was a good student in his high school, his freshman and sophomore year. This was because he played football and had to maintain good grades in order to stay in football and had to go to school every day. Um, Around in his sophomore year, he started to realize that he wasn't going to have the capabilities to pursue a career in football, and he kind of lost friendships and basically just stopped playing football his sophomore year. This led him to start hanging out with his best friend from his childhood. His friend's name is Trey. They live in the same neighborhood in Compton. They were best friends. Then, when Dante got more into football, Dante was focusing on football, and Trey went down the path of getting into a criminal career, and he actually joined a gang. Um, they, when Dante started hanging out with Trey, they hung out with his friends who were also in the gang. This gang is the Compton Crips. Again, I went with the Compton Crips just off of I looked up what's a popular gang in Compton, and they were one of the top ones, so I decided to just go with that. Um, Trey basically convinced Dante to join the gang because they were already hanging out with all of them committing crimes together, and basically Trey or Dante saw it as a way into having people that he could trust and friends and people that he was able to hang out with. As far as his family life, Dante has no father. He went to prison when he was young. He didn't have any relationship with him growing up. His mom works three jobs in order to sustain the family and his younger siblings. Um, this leaves no time for the mom to give any attention to Dante or um, take care of him, basically. Dante has been in the criminal justice system already a few times for committing crimes. As a senior in high school, his first time was his junior year of high school. Um, the part of Compton that Dante lives in is very poor. He learned to commit these crimes from his friends who are basically in the same neighborhood, and it's just a normal thing to do this. This is how they live. This is how they get their thrills, but it's also what they have to do to get money. Dante feels that he has to commit these crimes to survive, not only in his neighborhood, but with his friends. It's a way of showing his commitment to the gang and his relationship with them. Dante has a poor relationship with law enforcement because through the encounters with them, they have like roughed him up, and he feels like he has been racially discriminated against and been judged by previous things that he's done, and basically give him that label of being a criminal. I put Dante as where he lives in the center of Compton because it would be a zone of transition. A zone of transition is usually in the center of a city. It's a place that has a lot of um, a lot of moving parts as far as different people moving in, large buildings, factories, businesses going out of businesses going out of business, and also um, new ones coming in. I also put a large homeless population around Dante's neighborhood to show a social disorganization of that neighborhood. All of these things contribute to giving no sense of community within Dante's neighborhood. Everyone is kind of out for themselves, and there's no sense of community. There's no reason for people to take care of each other because they may be moving or they're trying to get out of there. This is one of the things that in the theory that is really important is that there's no community relationship. People commit crimes and don't feel bad about committing crimes to other people. Um, Next, I incorporated differential association theory by saying that Dante mostly hangs out with Trey, his best friend, who's a repeat offender. Um, and Dante learns how to be a criminal from his friend Trey and also the other people within his gang. He learns the skills of robbing, theft, stealing cars. He learns all of these through them. Um, and Dante feels like it is a necessity to survive within his life by committing crime. Um, he has a denial of responsibility for his crimes, that he believes that it's society's fault that he commits these crimes, and it doesn't make him a bad person to do things that he has to. I incorporated the biological aspect of the denial of responsibility. I said that Dante has ADHD, which makes him have high energy and constantly gets him into trouble and he has a hard time controlling his behavior. Both of these things are out of Dante's control. Basically, he was set up for failure with these things, like a poor community and having ADHD affect him so heavily. Dante does not feel like he commits crimes that injure people. He stays away from things like violent crime. He doesn't hurt anybody, so he justifies his crimes through that, as well as I incorporated denial of victim, which is he commits crimes against people who already have money that aren't going to be affected by him robbing or stealing them. And they give him the opportunity. Basically, I said in one instance that, a rich guy in their neighborhood left their keys in the car unlocked, and it just presented the opportunity to him to take advantage of that situation. Um, Lastly, I talk about the condemnation of the condemned. He feels like people like him and his mother have been condemned by people who fix the system in their favor and are greedy, um, and set people like Dante and his mother up for failure. So these people basically deserve what they have coming to them from Dante. Um, Dante has to commit crimes to show loyalty to his gang. They will not trust him unless he commits crimes. Um, they will ask him to do things to prove himself to them. I incorporated social bond theory by saying that um, these are his role models. This is who he associates with. This is how he becomes who he is, and what leads him into the criminal career. Um, for the last part of how Dante started to go on a restorative justice path that worked, I had him get caught by his school for stealing his teacher's computer out of the car. The teacher was able to go on the surveillance cameras and see that it was Dante who committed the crime. The next day, when he came to school, um, instead of being met by law enforcement, he was met by the principal who set up a meeting later that day with Dante's mother, the teacher that he committed the crime against, and the school counselor. Um, they decided to handle it on their own because Dante had already been in the criminal justice system before, and they realized that this doesn't work, and they wanted to take a different approach to his restorative justice. Um, I did this because it has been shown in the past that recidivism rates can be very high, especially for juveniles, on people who go get put in the system and basically get labeled as criminals, and it can become kind of a cycle for them. Um, so for this, I did the circle approach, where the counselor, school teacher, and his mother and himself all sat in a circle. Um, they all went in a circle, talking about how the crime affected them and how they felt about what he was doing and how he was handling himself. Um, I used the SMART approach to do the setup of the meeting. Um, so they talked about how they felt about it, and then they came to a resolution. Dante's mother felt like it was most important that he went to school because that's going to be what sets him up for future and sets him up for a successful future. If he doesn't graduate high school, basically he will have no opportunity in his mom's eyes. It goes for the same for the teacher, and the teacher is the one that came up with the actual punishment. The punishment was that Dante had to go to school every single day, and in order to make up for the hours the teacher had to put into the computer, Dante will give that back by giving an hour of his time after school every day for one term. Um, and he only has to do it for one term as long as he received a 2.5 GPA that term. If he doesn't receive a 2.5 GPA that term, the punishment will continue. Um, in Dante's journal, he talks about how he realized how much these crimes affect other people than just himself. It really hurt him to hear his mother talk about how disappointed she was in him and how she had to take time out of all the jobs that she has um, to come there and just to basically hear that her son is not being a good kid. He also felt bad about committing the crime against the teacher because the teacher was known for treating students well and helping students in the past. Um, so he saw this as an opportunity actually to make his mother proud by him going to school, graduating school, and also to have a new role model in his life. That being the teacher, spending time with people outside of his gang, having a reason to spend time outside of his gang. Just telling them that he has to do this every day. It gives him an excuse to have to go to school and spend time with somebody that can potentially be a role model and set him up for success and give him life skills that'll set him up for success. So that is Dante's Young Life. Thank you very much for this term. Appreciate you. Have a good break, Professor.